Well, good afternoon. I'm going to stand as we get started. I'm Barbara Humpton. On behalf of Siemens' 60,000 U.S. employees, I want to thank you all for joining us today for the Spotlight session. This is part of the technology track. And this morning, we've been talking a lot about the role of innovation and the advancement of technology in our service to federal government. And what I'd like to do as we kick off this next segment here with my good friend, Colonel Aniello Tortora, is talk about, step us back a step and ask ourselves, what would happen if? What would happen if we had a significant outage of power for an extended period of time? Think about your missions and what kind of impact that would have on the work you do day in and day out. Working with the Government Business Council, Siemens had the opportunity to ask just that question of a survey audience. And we asked the question, would this have a small impact on your business? Would it have no significant, would it be a total shutdown? And what I'll do is in just a couple of minutes, as we talk through this overall concept of energy efficiency and energy preparedness, I'll take you through some of the responses that we got from our survey audience. And then Colonel Tortora is going to finish out our segment today with an overview of creative approaches that are available to you in order to address the energy efficiency dilemma that we're facing. Now, I want to show you something that we've used within Siemens to describe the full equation that supports energy efficiency. And this really has four parts. First, save and conserve, and I'll take you through a little bit of this. And then generate and store. Third, monitor and control. And fourth, implement microgrids. These four simple statements really give us an equation we can use as we address energy efficiency today. Energy stewardship, save and conserve. You know, we are all stewards of the energy we're using. You may be aware that the federal government is the nation's largest consumer of energy. And who knows that buildings consume 40% of the energy in this country, around the globe? Who knew that 30% of all of the traffic in a city is caused by people driving around searching for parking? Each and every day are making choices that affect our usage of energy. Step one in any overall equation related to energy is going to be to save and conserve. Then we need to think about being more independent from traditional sources of energy. So we're looking for renewable energy sources such as solar power, wind, geothermal, biomass. You know that these technologies exist, but we've got the issue that today many of these technologies are expensive as compared to our traditional sources. And there's another problem. If there are variable sources of energy, such as wind or sun, then we need to make sure we have ways of storing energy. So we're seeing advances in storage. We're definitely seeing greater emphasis on renewable energy sources. The federal government can play a real leadership role in making sure that we tip those scales in the market and make renewable energy more effective. What about adding automation? This is where we make things smart. And you know, the technology exists today. The ability to control our use of energy in buildings, our ability to variably generate electricity as it's needed, control climates. All of these tools exist, and the automation really does make this possible to then ultimately reach our goal of energy security. Around government today, folks are experimenting with the creation of microgrids. And this gets us back to that original question of what would be the impact on your mission if you sustained a significant outage of energy. Do you know that only 5% of the survey respondents in the Government Business Council survey said there would be little or no impact to their mission? And we had answers ranging from literally a significant impact, I'm going to have to move my place of work, to a total shutdown. And think about it, that's realistic. That is what we potentially face. So all of the talk we've had this morning about the ability to bring new technologies, go mobile, all of that depends on those electrons flowing. So bringing all this back together, Siemens has been working on all aspects of this energy equation, saving and conserving, generating and storing, controlling and monitoring, and introducing microgrids. But it's a partnership between industry and government that makes all of this possible. And that's why I'm so delighted today to have Aniello Tortora here. Colonel Tortora leads the Huntsville Center, the Army's Engineering and Support Center that's located in Huntsville. And among his many, it's a very broad scope of responsibility in that his organization is responsible for energy contracting in support of the federal government. And Aniello, I'd like to turn it over to you.
Okay.
Thank you, Colonel.
Thanks, Barbara. And I'm glad you mentioned the teamwork between industry and government. Okay, thanks. I think when I look at all the programs that we run in the Huntsville Center of the Army Corps of Engineers, the reason why we're most successful is our ability to have partnerships with industry and to listen to industry and implement innovative solutions from industry. And certainly we've benefited from our partnership with all of our contractors, and especially the work that Siemens is doing. And I'll talk a little bit about that. So let me go to, let me skip over that and go. This is just a snapshot of our center. And you know, this is a first for me to be on a technology track panel. So, and I have a lot of numbers on these slides, so I have to refer to my notes. But this is just what we do in the center as far as our mission is concerned, is basically to support the U.S. Armed Forces in providing global engineer solutions. We work all over the world that basically require some specialized technical expertise in the programs that we lead. And up here on the slide are shown some of our centers of expertise and the fact that we run about 40 different programs. And you know, what we do as a full service engineering organization for government, for the Corps of Engineers, is program and project management. We have the in-house technical expertise, the ability to acquire expertise outside through acquisition, and of course resource management. So we're able to do it all there. So I'm going to highlight, as Barbara mentioned, a couple of our energy programs, which we've been focusing on quite a bit over the past couple of years. We've actually been working on energy programs in Huntsville for over 20 years, but the past couple of years have seen a lot of emphasis and also some new things that we're doing to try to get to some of those things that Barbara was talking about. So first I want to talk about this energy engineering and analysis program, and this is where you have to first, you know, see yourself on your installation or in your buildings. And this particular program, the EAP, is essentially where we're conducting ASHRAE level 1, 2, and 3 surveys, and that these surveys then produce project documentation, they produce energy conservation measures, they produce strategies, acquisition strategies for energy projects. And we do these on Army installations, and what our customer of that installation, the garrison commander, the director of public works, really like is what they get at the end of this is basically a 5 to 30 year capital investment strategy on where they need to put their limited dollars, or how they can, you know, find innovative ways to do things to reach their energy reduction goals. And you can see the results there on the slide. We've identified a little over $400 million in projects that would produce an annual energy savings of $139 million a year. Of course, installations need funding to achieve these energy reductions, and we do have programs like the Energy Conservation Investment Program, which requires appropriated funds, but that's actually a small budget that comes from the Department of Defense and is allocated among the services. So what we all started doing some time ago, but have been emphasizing a lot more lately, is using OPM funds. And I don't know if anyone here is familiar with OPM funds, but that's other people's money to get to some of these energy savings. And I'm going to talk about one method of doing that through energy savings performance contracts that was mentioned earlier. So here you see our energy savings performance contracts. Just basically what that is leveraging the private sector financing and the experience of an ESCO, an energy savings contract, an energy savings company. And the ESCO will design, finance, construct, and in some cases maintain and operate the project for a period of 25 years. So the key here is that the ESCO is paid through the resulting guaranteed energy savings and benefited from combining some very short payback energy conservation with longer term payback energy conservation measures. And that is because the short-term ones are rarely not financially viable by themselves, but when you bundle them with the longer-term ones, and as you can see here on the Fort Buchanan project, we're able to combine the longer payback items like photovoltaic and wind power generation with some of the low-hanging fruit like light and occupancy sensors and retro commissioning. And if you look in the box on the right there, you see that with a capital investment of $34 million and a contract term of 16 years, there's a significant annual energy savings and a cost savings of $3.8 million a year. Now that's based on Buchanan's current energy bill is about $9 million a year. So that's pretty significant when you look at what can be saved each year in terms of energy. This next slide shows the impact just on a graph. All of our installations have numerous mandates out there on energy reduction goals or energy goals in general. And one of them is the Energy Independence and Security Act, which tells our installations that the goal by fiscal year 2015 is to reduce energy by 30% from the establishing a baseline in fiscal year 2003. So the blue line on here shows what Fort Buchanan's goal was for energy reduction. And you can see they started out pretty well. The green line shows their actual consumption, but then from about 2008 to early 2012, they were falling short of achieving their goal. In 2012, once we implement the ESPC, if you could see it right about here, you see that the savings are significant and they're able by FY13 to achieve their 30% reduction 2 years early. So this is really a very good project, but I have to caveat is that they're not all this successful. There's a lot of things on Fort Buchanan that they have going for them, especially with high utility costs to begin with. But I also point out that this is one where the first Army project we were able to incorporate wind as part of an ESPC. These are our statistics of number of projects that we have completed and the number that we have in the payment phase. That's a capital investment of over $500 million with the annual energy savings of $64.5 million. And then FY11, and I put that up there to show you that just in the first quarter of FY12, we've exceeded all of FY11. So I think that ESPC is being looked at as a very good option to leverage third-party financing and to make energy improvements on installations. I point out that those first 3 projects in FY12 were excellent examples of more ESPCs that we'd like to see that incorporated renewables as well. One of them on White Sands Missile Range that Siemens recently broke ground a couple weeks ago on will have, when completed, the largest solar array in the Army to date, which will produce about 4 megawatts of renewable energy. A little bit about our acquisition vehicle. We own the Army's ESPC contract and we lead the program for the Army. We have an IDIQ multiple award task order contract with about 15 energy services company on it, and I'd point out that DOE also has a similar contract in place. Now, I want to just kind of fast forward here to what's next on the horizon. What are we trying to do to be innovative in Huntsville Center? And one of the things that we've found is that there's really, there is an authority that we have to implement power purchase agreements on installations. And power purchase agreements is where we're able to, again, have a developer or a contractor make a capital investment to build a renewable energy facility and own that facility, maintain it, and sell energy to an Army installation. And so the Army has executed maybe a handful of these power purchase agreements, but not really on a large scale. And when you talk about trying to get large renewable projects done on installations, ESPCs are not really a good vehicle for that. So because of that limitation, we're now aggressively pursuing these power purchase agreements. And what we've done is we've implemented a new acquisition called a large-scale renewable energy production for federal installations. And it's basically a $7 billion multiple award task order contract, the $7 billion being the total capacity and that represents all the energy that the Army would buy from developers. And we have, under the power purchase agreement authority, we're able to enter into contracts of up to 30 years. So we're establishing, we just finished receiving a draft request for proposal, many comments from industry, and it's our intent to get this particular, the final RFP out this quarter of FY12, and then to establish the contract early in calendar year 2013. And the MATOC there would be a pool of pre-qualified contractors that could design, build, own, operate, and maintain a renewable energy facility with a return for a period of up to 30 years that installation would buy the renewable energy from them. So that is just quickly some of the things that we're working on in Huntsville along with our industry partners, and I think I've left some time here for some discussion.
Perfect, thank you, and I welcome everybody to the session, and we are open for questions. And I know I probably have a couple of good plants here, particularly in the water area. Yes, sir.
I'll start with a question. When you look out 20 and 30 years...
We have a microphone for you.
Hi. Is it on?
Yes, it is.
Okay, you can't hear it. When you look out 20 and 30 years for an ESCO and you're looking at a payback of that period of time, we've implemented some of these at our agency, Architect of the Capitol, and it just seems to me like in 10 years I'm going to be replacing some of these daylight harvesting sensors and some of the fluorescents with LEDs when those prices come way down. Was there any sensitivity analysis given to the fact that some of these, while they will guarantee that payback, that you're going to replace that infrastructure before that payback period is over?
I think it's really more of a question for Barbara, because remember, the way we envision it is that the developer owns and maintains the structure. Really, what we're doing is just buying the commodity from them, the energy, in the power purchase agreement. So all from the government side, what we care about is that it produces a certain amount of energy, and that we have agreed to pay a certain price for that energy, with a, now I'm not an expert at this, but there could be some escalation in that price based on, in the contract.
Mm-hmm. Right, so what's key as we establish these kinds of arrangements is being able to establish a baseline, understanding the measurement and the baseline energy usage. And then over time, as further savings are identified, it really is then, those kinds of trades can be made on an ongoing basis. I know we have some experts in the audience, so I welcome dialogue as well with others in the audience.
Hi. We've done some research looking at energy efficiency and across all kinds of government agencies, and what we found was a principal sort of roadblock was often culture. And so I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about, obviously the numbers are sort of in favor of movement on this, but how do you overcome that culture of just general resistance to change?
That's a great question, because we run into that on every installation, and you have I'll take ESPC, for example. The culture for ESPC is, first, you have a bias against financing anything. Why should I essentially borrow money and pay back over a period of years when really I should get an appropriated amount of money so I can properly maintain and upgrade my installation every year. But unfortunately, the truth is you never get the amount of money that you need to operate and maintain your installation. It's never enough. And that's frankly why our installations in some cases are in such bad shape. Now, over these past several years, we've had a good buildup. I think the other thing also is that ESPC in the past has been used more as a maintenance program than an energy savings program. So, if you had a whole bunch of boilers that needed to be replaced and you didn't have the money to replace them, you're looking more at getting the maintenance piece. So that is slowly changing to where we're focused more on energy savings as opposed to, getting new boilers for your installation. The other part of it is that the best way to change that culture is from the top. And we're fortunate in the Army to have an Assistant Secretary of the Army for Installations, Energy, and Environment that is really driving reaching the goals and reaching them through using innovative methods like including third-party financing. So our pipeline for ESPCs this year has probably grown fourfold over the last 2 years, 3 years altogether, mainly because there's a drive from our leadership that goes all the way down to those garrison commanders and installation DPW. So every single conference I go to that involves installation commands, land holding commands from across the Army, there's a big push to achieve these goals and using tools, innovative tools to do it.
So what's interesting is when we recognize, in fact, this is one of the key things that was uncovered in the survey that was done recently of these government stakeholders, is that there is a cultural influence underneath this drive toward energy efficiency. And so now we have an organization, a landscape out there where folks are looking for innovative ways to accomplish their objectives. And we have others in government who have the tools available. And we look forward to continuing to make those connections and find new areas in which to apply these contracting vehicles to achieve the mission.
Sir, Barbara, one of the things we've discovered at the Navy Yard, too, is that in order to take full advantage of energy savings and efficiency initiatives, the other cultural thing that we have to address is how and where the workforce works. So I'm not talking about a culture of people knowing to turn off lights and stuff, but I'm saying if you can synchronize your work such that wings of buildings are simultaneously empty, or things like that, or start the clock at a different hour, end at a different hour. You need to have that human capital strategy, if you will, to really take maximum advantage of the technological possibilities.
Yeah.
Fantastic point. And so in case folks didn't hear this, there is a human factor aspect to driving energy efficiency, changing work schedules, making arrangements so that we're making effective use of energy in terms of what we have to heat and cool. And truly, some of the most innovative organizations we have seen put energy efficiency into all aspects of their mission. If any of you have ever heard Olga Gutierrez speak about the work that's going on in NASA, you understand about designing for energy efficiency and building that into the NASA mission. It is truly an inspiring approach. Excellent point. We have all kinds of lights blinking up here. Sometimes they're green, sometimes they're red, but I do believe we've reached the end of our session. Thank you.
I'm around all day. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you.